If you remember those old Looney Tune cartoons where to trap something they might put out these crumbs or like treats, and the thing that they're trying to trap will follow along these crumbs until they get trapped. And this can also feel like when you're in a one-sided relationship where you're following these emotional breadcrumbs, which can be quite stressful and quite uncomfortable to be in. So let's do an EFT tapping on this. So taking full responsibility for your own well-being and repeating after me. Let's go with the flow and let's begin to tap. Even though there is a person in my life that I appear to have a connection with, but that connection seems to only occur when they're ready to show up and have me attend to their needs. And I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself, even though I might be following emotional breadcrumbs. Little glimpses of emotional connection where I feel like I have something that the other person does receive it and does acknowledge it, but I always seem to be on the surface and at a distance. And I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself, even though the distance in between this emotional connection, there appears to be avoidance, both in how we connect and when I'm ready to connect, and the connection that I get when only they are ready to connect, which does make me feel lacking. And I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. These emotional breadcrumbs, these crumbs of emotion, these portions of affection that I receive from this other person, that really makes me feel like I have something. Because within that connection, everything feels so good. And it feels like I have someone who's taken the time to invest within me as I invest within them. And then they're gone again, absent, void of any emotion, void of any connection, until they resurface when they're ready to connect and ready to be validated. And I rush in, starved of connection, and meet my next emotional breakdown. And this connection that I have may feel really good, but it may be really surface level, and it may be very brief until they're gone again. This intermittent affection does have its starving periods in between, until I get to feast on the scraps once again of what this person provides me, which, when I think about it, is not really a lot, and does appear to be one-sided. They may express some form of vulnerability, which might spark up my empathy or my concern. But beyond that, they may avoid altogether expressing with someone that they care about their emotional vulnerabilities. But it does keep me invested enough into what I perceive as a relationship. And I might have needs and concerns of my own, which might get glossed over. They might get heard and received, but they may avoid going into altogether what might be concerning me, as it might be more about what's in it for them than any form of concerns that I have in what I believe is an emotional relationship. And then they're gone again. And it feels really good to have this connection in the times that I'm allowed it, in the times that they're ready to connect with me. It's kind of like having a good friendship, a good relationship, or even a business relationship, where you might communicate a lot, but it's only when they post something, or only when they're ready to be seen, to receive that validation from myself, that they're ready to reconnect. They might apologize for missing all of my messages, might address it superficially. They were just so busy, and then they're gone again, whilst leaving a little bit of bait for the next reconnection. Is this an emotional relationship that I'm in? Or is it more emotional control? As every time that I try to withdraw and see if it's all just me within this relationship, the person suddenly reappears once they know their pattern has been broken. And they offer so many kind words to keep me hooked just a little bit longer, but avoid any depth of emotion or relationship. And then they're gone again, until they need of me what makes them feel fulfilled within. That external validation from a lack of internal validation. That nice, kind, and caring person that gives them fulfillment within. And in many ways, I might be hooked as well to these emotional breadcrumbs. It's like my hit of dopamine, my hit of oxytocin, where I feel good and loved. And I'm left in withdrawal whilst waiting for my next hit from this person, who just keeps me hooked a little bit longer with the promise of something more. And it's not a line of breadcrumbs that I'm following to some conclusion. The breadcrumbs themselves are the trap. As I follow around and around these emotional breadcrumbs, this promise of something more by a person who's avoiding me altogether, and only partaking in me by what I mean to them, by what I provide to them. This unhealthy dynamic, this fearful avoidance, this dismissing of my emotions, this dismissing of their own emotions, where I'd rather connect and then reject, show emotional vulnerability as a lure rather than any form of accountability or responsibility to change. It's like teasing something out, but never showing the full view of things, because they might be fearful of those emotions, or they might dismiss them altogether. And myself, who is within this cycle, may start to see that I'm being led on, and that the scales are always tipped in their favor, and I never really get anything in return, because I'm never emotionally present in the relationship. They may have other relationships that they're still emotionally invested in, with other people still being led on. And the more that I enforce my boundaries and say that I want to break the cycle, the real nature of the person gets shown. For all my kindness and goodness, of which they reflect back to me, they now project how much of a terrible person I am for having my own time and space and not being there for them all the time. I've cut off my supply because I was constantly being drained. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of love that is receptive and is kind for me, where I don't have to rely so much on self-care, the thing that I've been doing all my life, I have another person who is caring for me and won't leave me alone in times of need and only reconnect when they need me. I'm worthy of love. I'm not wrong to want love from another person. But I am worthy of receiving it as well. I don't want to feast on scraps. I want a relationship that's sustainable and makes me feel fulfilled within as I fulfill them as well in mind, body, and spirit. And taking a full breath in and out. So yes, it can be very draining. It can be very addictive also to be in a relationship such as this. And it can be one of those tests where as soon as you draw your line in the sand, it can be seen as rejection and can be seen as a form of projection, where an assumption of how you're feeling is then put upon you based upon their own inward feelings. So you were never there for them. You were just there as a source of supply for them. So breaking that source of supply and also knowing that the things that they valued are very good qualities. It's just you want that received from someone that can also give that back to you. An equal sharing of love, caring, and kindness. So I'm Dion from Eflosion Support Services for EFT Tapping one-on-one online. So check out eflosion supportservices.com. Until the next one, bye for now.